Taila Santos
Santos, a favorite in the Professional Fighters League,
was Dakota Ditcheva's most hated opponent.
On one of my posts before saying she wants Barbie's belt.
A fighter once caught and shamed, now returning louder, prouder, twice as arrogant. She mocked the Barbie champion.
Dakota is going to thrive. She is a superstar in the making.
Demanding the spotlight she hadn't earned. But this time, the world would watch her pay for every word. This all started when Taila Santos, a jealous former UFC title contender who had an obvious envy for Dakota, turned their rivalry into theater. At the official PFL press conference in Riyadh, in front of cameras and journalists, Santos called her overrated and smeared on lipstick while sneering that she was the real woman of the division. The insult stuck. The anger didn't fade. It fermented, distilled into something sharp enough to cut through the cage air. By the time the PFL final arrived, everything about them stood in contrast. Dakota, polished, undefeated, built on Muay Thai precision and discipline.
and this is the thing, and another, and a knee, and another elbow, and another.
Santos, the veteran wrapped in excuses, is trying to turn scandal into swagger.
Carmouche, and the takedown for Santos.
Headlines praise Santos' experience, reminding everyone she once went the distance with Valentina Shevchenko.
And this is amazing! Got the back, got the neck crank so far. Can she get it under the chin?
But the reminder worked both ways. It also reminded fans that she'd been caught and suspended for 6 months by the United States Anti-Doping Agency for a failed drug test. And in this sport, reputation is harder to scrub than blood from the mat. The stage in Riyadh glowed under desert lights. $1 million hung in the balance. But it was never about money for Dakota. It was about principle. She refused to touch gloves, a small rebellion that said everything. There would be no respect for a cheater.
11 knockouts, 1 submission. Starts with a leg kick.
From the opening second, Dakota claimed the rhythm. Her strikes were deliberate. Hard inside and outside leg kicks that thudded against Santos' base.
Draw Dakota in before she tries to take down. Wow, hard inside low kick.
Each one stealing a piece of her balance. Santos tried to answer with forward pressure, winging heavy hooks as if she could bully her way inside.
That was a nice right hand. Holy cow.
But Dakota was too sharp. A right hand cracked through the guard and froze the Brazilian in place. Then came the counter hook, then the front kick that pushed her straight back to the fence.
Taila Santos hurt.
Knee to the body there. This one.
Desperate to change the direction, Santos lunged into a clinch, wrapping both arms around Dakota's waist. But the Brit's balance was unshakable. She twisted, fought off the grip, and stood tall, briefly reversing the position before breaking free.
Big knee.
The crowd roared as Dakota walked calmly back to the center. Then the precision began to pile up. A jab found its mark again and again. A hook slid through the narrowest gap in Santos' defense. A push kick landed clean on the chest, snapping the body back like a drumbeat of control.
Santos with the high guard.
Big knee.
By the end of the first round, Santos' face had started to bruise.
Second frame next.
Round 2 started with violence disguised as grace. Dakota drove knees up the middle, sharp and merciless.
Last chance to shot.
Santos tried another body lock, the same tactic that had failed before.
Talk about everything you need to kickstart your new year.
And again, Dakota spun free, putting her right back where she didn't want to be, at distance in the firing line. The next few moments looked surgical. Dakota's front kick landed flush on the face, and the follow-up combination crashed into the ribs and elbows. Santos back to the cage, covering up under the storm. Dakota closed the space, trapping her there, unleashing a final series of knees and elbows that left no room for doubt.
Taking these shots so far has crumbled, and Santos has not yet.
Nice elbows.
Santos' defense melted away, her body folding from the pressure. The referee stepped in and waved it off. It was over. Technical knockout.
World Championship.
That night, the sport wasn't watching a championship fight. It was watching a reckoning between authenticity and deceit. between earned strength and manufactured power. The clean fighter had returned purity to the craft. The cheater had been exposed under the lights of Riyadh. And in one final gesture, she applied lip balm in the cage, mocking the same move Santos had used to taunt her. Before she could deliver that kind of justice, Dakota had to build it, through the long rise, the learning fights, and the scars that taught her precision. Every fight before Santos was a rehearsal for that night in Riyadh. And the first real test came in Paris. Cornelia Holm, Sweden's relentless wrestler, believed she could break Dakota by pressure alone. The semi-final of the PFL Europe tournament looked like the kind of match a grappler dreams of. One fighter chasing the takedown, the other trying to breathe through the weight of a body pressed to the fence. For a round, Holm made the fight feel like claustrophobia.
Yeah, but this is a good takedown for Holm.
Beautiful work.
She clinched, wrestled, and dragged Dakota across the cage wall, grinding for control. But Dakota didn't panic.
Really push her, and now there's the knees. The knees coming up the center, right back on the attack.
By the second round, the adjustments appeared. Short pivots, wider stance, lower hips. She began to punish Holm's entries with jabs and snapping kicks that bit into the lead leg. The striker was learning to swim in wrestling's current.
Her target with that right hand. Gets a hold of the leg, though.
When Holm shot for another takedown, Dakota sprawled, twisted, and ended on top.
Nice. Holm tries to go right back to her. Good sprawl.
The crowd saw something rare, a striker turning a grappler's strength into a weakness. And when the third round came, the rhythm shifted completely.
Both of these women showing a little fatigue. Oh, there's the head kick.
Dakota pressed forward, working feints to open the body.
Good jab. And another.
Then sent a left straight clean into the ribs. Holm folded in pain, the referee waving it off.
Put away.
Oh!
Yeah.
That body shot wasn't just a finish, it was a thesis statement.
With the third round finish.
Dakota had learned how to punish anyone who tried to take her art away from distance. But Paris wasn't the end. Dublin was. The PFL Europe final brought Valentina Scatisi, a thick-muscled Italian who looked more like a bodybuilder than a fighter.
Again, this time slower. Now Scatisi.
She strutted into the arena flexing, the veins in her arms pulsing like she'd been sculpted for intimidation alone. Dakota met her with quiet contempt. At the face-off, Scatisi flexed again. Dakota kissed her belt, a small act of faith in her own preparation. When the fight began, Scatisi charged forward with reckless force, but Dakota didn't yield an inch.
Coming out aggressive. Nice. And running right in.
The clinch came early, and that was a mistake. From that position, Dakota's Muay Thai became merciless.
There we go.
Knees driving into the midsection, one after another, each one heavier than the last.
Was clean. That beautiful from Dakota. Beautiful pump. This could be it, guy.
The first minute was a contest. The second was an autopsy. Scatisi's attempts to wrestle turned into survival.
Now Dakota goes upstairs.
I mean, we're sat close here.
Her ribs reddened, her posture wilted. And by the end of the round, one eye had swollen grotesquely from repeated strikes.
Comes from a great team.
The ringside doctor stepped in, took one look, and ended it.
Declaring your winner via TKO on medical advice due to the fighter being unable to continue. Declaring your winner and 2023 Women's Flyweight Champion, Dakota Ditcheva!
She had earned the first major belt of her career, the PFL Europe Women's Flyweight Championship. Proof that precision always outlasts power. Those European nights gave her something no training camp could teach. Composure under assault, patience under pressure, and the confidence to stay loyal to her own rhythm. The wrestler had tested her endurance. The bodybuilder had tested her brutality. Both had failed, and together they built the foundation for what would later unfold in Riyadh. By the time Dakota stepped into the American spotlight the next year, she wasn't the rising prospect anymore. She was the storm that everyone else had to learn to weather. Dakota's conquest of Europe was complete, but across the Atlantic, louder stages awaited. New names, faster knockouts, and a wave of attention that would test not her technique, but her composure. Her debut on American soil came with the same calm she always carried, but the expectations had doubled. By now, her reputation preceded her. The cleanest striker in women's MMA, the one who finished fights before anyone could start judging them.
She's in trouble. That's the end. This is in big trouble.
Against Lisa Malden, she showed that it wasn't hype, it was habit. The bell had barely faded when Dakota went to work.
Overhead left, and then a front kick.
Probing with her jab, feinting high, then snapping knees to the body. Malden tried to respond with combinations of her own, but each strike left her open.
On Dakota Ditcheva's face as she heard a couple of boo birds.
Dakota's timing was cruel. A knee to the midsection,
To the body by Ditcheva. Right back. Oh, big knee. Big knee. She's in trouble.
That's the end.
This is in big trouble.
Potentially, she's...
a short hook upstairs, and a barrage that folded Malden against the fence.
First round finish.
It was another first-round finish.
Dakota Ditcheva!
But even executioners face tests. Chelsea Hackett was supposed to be one. A kickboxer herself, Hackett promised to match Dakota strike for strike, to trade without fear. For a few exchanges, she did, until the rhythm caught her. Dakota began measuring range with kicks, drawing reactions, and reading the slightest flinch. Then she went low, a thudding shot to the body that stopped Hackett in her tracks. One more to the same spot, and it was over. The fight didn't need build-up or controversy. It was simplicity performed to perfection. The kind of finish that makes other fighters rewatch tape in disbelief. Every victory pushed her higher into the American spotlight. The media began crafting new headlines, calling her the face of the PFL's women's division. Some loved the story, others doubted it. Critics claimed she hadn't faced real adversity, that her rise was too clean, too fast, that she was being marketed more than challenged. Dakota didn't respond with words. She let her next opponent pay the reply. That opponent was Gina Bishop, a seasoned grappler, older, durable, and precisely the kind of opponent skeptics said Dakota couldn't handle. Bishop promised to drag her into deep water. Instead, she got dropped into fire. Dakota came out like thunder, landing a knee straight up the middle that dropped Bishop instantly.
I'll tell you, the confidence that she's going to have now getting up is going to be unbelievable.
The follow-up hammer fists were academic. The referee jumped in, but Dakota was already backing away, expression unreadable.
On the attack.
Bishop in trouble.
And that does it.
It had taken barely a minute to dismantle a veteran whose entire game was built on survival. The knockout streak continued, and with each finish, the whispers about hype started to sound less like doubt and more like fear. Broadcasters began to call her the inevitable. She didn't argue. She knew that labels came and went, but the work didn't change. Mornings on the mats, drills repeated until the body moved on instinct. Every fight was another entry in a book she had been writing since childhood, one strike at a time. By the end of that American season, she was undefeated, untouched, and unstoppable. 16 minutes of total cage time across 3 opponents.
More body shots. This one first round finish.
That was all it took to turn her from rising prospect to title favorite. Each knockout wasn't just dominance, it was evolution. Every strike more refined, every reaction faster. As the cameras shifted back toward her after the Bishop fight, she shushed the crowd with one finger, calm but cold. "We don't do split decisions here," she said in the post-fight interview.
Was there a moment where you landed on the floor there and you thought to yourself, now this is where I get to prove myself?
Did they expect it?
That moment told the world exactly who she was. A fighter who didn't chase approval, only precision. But precision alone doesn't silence arrogance. While Dakota climbed through the rankings, Taila Santos was preparing her own return. And the noise she brought with her would turn quiet confidence into open war. As Dakota's rise turned her into a name every promoter wanted and every fighter wanted to test, the one voice that rose above the rest belonged to Taila Santos. Fresh off her bond, Santos began stirring the pot before she had even signed her next bout agreement. She told interviewers that Dakota was too hyped, that the PFL was handing her easy fights to build a poster girl. She hadn't earned her reputation.
To fight Dakota, I feel like she is on a hype train right now, and I don't really...
It was the kind of talk that dripped with bitterness, and the kind that Dakota never entertained publicly. Behind the scenes, however, it lingered. Santos had once stood in the UFC spotlight, had taken Valentina Shevchenko the distance, had lived under the biggest lights. To fall, to be caught, to be suspended.
Who wins this fight? Who wins this position? And it's Taila Santos.
It left a bruise on her pride that needed a new villain to blame. Dakota became that outlet. The Brazilian wanted to drag her name into the mud, to reduce her accomplishments to marketing. She posted thinly veiled jabs online. Each insult was bait, thrown into the current to provoke a reaction. Dakota never took it. Instead, she sharpened her silence. She had grown up in gyms where talk was cheap and execution was currency. Her team at American Top Team trained her not for the noise, but for the moment it stopped. The second the cage door closed, and all that was left was breath, space, and skill. When the PFL announced the 2024 World Championship card in Riyadh, the matchmakers got what they wanted, the purest striker in the division against the loudest return story in women's MMA. Even those close to the sport could feel that something different was building. The energy between them wasn't standard rivalry, it was contempt. The kind that's quiet until it explodes. Fighters talk about mental warfare, about getting inside the other's head. But Santos never noticed that Dakota didn't play those games. She was the kind of fighter who made her responses in bruises, not words. The final face-off in Riyadh cemented everything. Santos stood inches away, smiling that same smug smile. Dakota didn't flinch. Santos exaggerated the lip balm gesture, applying it slowly while keeping her eyes locked on Dakota.
Now, fantastic strikers, veterans, future legends.
It was supposed to humiliate her. Instead, it became prophecy. Because while Santos wasted her energy on mockery, Dakota spent hers preparing for exactness. She drilled knee sequences for clinch defense. She worked on defending body locks, knowing Santos would try to wrestle.
Turn it around on her, twisting body lock, put Santos on the bottom.
She repeated transitions from overhooks to escapes until her body did them without thought. By fight week, even neutral analysts started to shift their tone. They remembered Santos's doping case. They remembered how Dakota had built her record without shortcuts. The public lines blurred. Hype versus history, integrity versus insecurity. That night in Riyadh was already fated, and as we already covered how it ended and who proved to be the real warrior. After Riyadh, Dakota Ditcheva's life didn't explode into celebration. It deepened. The championship wasn't a finish line, it was a threshold. She walked through it quietly, carrying the belt the way some people carry responsibility, while the rest of the sport erupted with noise. But fame didn't wait for her permission. The moment she became Britain's first female world champion, her name left the cage and entered culture. Sponsors wanted it, journalists debated it, and opponents invoked it. Her calm composure, once dismissed as detachment, became her signature. Fighters who lived on theatrics suddenly looked outdated next to her discipline. Everyone wanted to borrow a piece of her story, even those who'd never shared the cage with her. That's when her name started showing up in headlines that weren't hers. Dalton Rasta and Fabian Edwards were supposed to be arguing about rankings and scorecards, but in a rush to throw a deeper punch, Edwards dragged Dakota into it, implying that Rasta's win had been helped by his connection to the Star Girl. It was a cheap shot, the kind of gossip designed to sting. The comments spread fast across social media, dissected by fans who had no idea how far removed Dakota was from that fight. Rasta didn't let it slide. Reporters said he laughed off the claim at first, but by media day, the smile was gone. He reminded everyone that the same brothers now crying foul over favoritism had once demanded privacy when personal lives were mentioned. To him, that was the hypocrisy, calling someone out for doing exactly what you once condemned. He didn't shout, but his tone carried the sort of conviction that makes people lower their eyes.
I believe I finished him in the 4th round, and since this fight's been made, I've just said.
Dakota never entered the conversation. She didn't post a word or answer a question. The moment her name started trending for someone else's argument, she turned off the noise and trained. Those close to her said she barely acknowledged it. Her belief was simple. If you spend your career proving who you are, you don't have to defend it with words. When she fought again, it showed. Against Hawaii's Sumiko Inaba, Dakota reminded everyone that her calm wasn't weakness, it was control.
This is what she's doing, so dangerous.
3 rounds of clean striking, defensive sharpness, and rhythm that never broke. A unanimous decision that looked effortless. She didn't chase the knockout. She demonstrated command.
Unanimously, for your winner, Dakota!
The belt was still hers, but now the performance spoke of something deeper. Patience, maturity, and absolute certainty in her own identity. Outside the cage, the noise around her quieted. Even her critics started using different language. They spoke about her as the example, the one who proved that attention can be earned without theatrics. Every new fighter studying her tape noticed the same thing. She didn't just hit targets, she dismantled habits. Her composure had become instruction. Meanwhile, the shadow of Taila Santos disappeared completely. Her suspension became official, and her career drifted into silence. The woman who once tried to humiliate Dakota now lived in the past tense. The one she mocked had become the standard. Dakota's legacy was no longer tied to who she beat, but to what she represented. The sport still uses her name, sometimes in praise, in politics, but she never changes her stance. When people speak about her now, it isn't just about fighting. It's about what fighting looks like when done honestly. Dakota Ditcheva didn't build her legend by shouting back. She built it by letting every punch and silence do the talking for her. If you made it this far, you already know what real fighting looks like. Don't just scroll away. Hit that like button, share it with your crew, and subscribe for more stories that remind everyone, in this sport, only skill speaks loud.